Hello, my name is Jacqueline Michelle Norris, and this is my Module 8, Leading with a Moral Compass. The first part of this presentation is an in-depth summary of the 9 resources we were asked to review and sum up. So resource number 1, this video was very short, but it was packed. It brought up a physical compass as a prop. And this really struck me. It was very powerful having an actual prop in a talk, so I think I might have to include that. But this compass that he was talking about includes trust and keeping promises that you make. And he said that even though the path between right and wrong is tough, it's not tough to understand the differences. I thought that was very clever. Research number 2. This was a very empathetic and warm speaker. He was easy to listen to and warm, but he was also stern, so I liked that. He emphasized the people first in decision making and how you respect individual dignity, treat everyone fairly, and with honesty. And those 2 words, respect and honesty, I've highlighted them or darkened them because they really struck me as something that I identified with for ethical behavior and moral compass. He also said that you need to know your line in the sand. Know your values and beliefs before you're asked to make decisions, and know what you can negotiate and what is acceptable before you start making these decisions. The reason I included the Solzhenitsyn quote here, and I'll read it, it's kind of small print, but it says, "The line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart." That was a very powerful quote, and it reminded me of these resources separating what's right and wrong. Research number 3 was called Encountering the Stranger, and this was very hard for me to read. However, I persevered. It started with a man spitting on refugees, and of course when people saw this they were outraged and kind of complained that he lacked empathy for the poor refugees. It takes a lot of thinking to make moral judgments, and the author discussed cognitive empathy versus affective empathy. He also said that ethics was culturally embedded and that it was inherently biased and unreliable. So the man spitting, maybe he was afraid of his livelihood or having a job later in the year because of the influx of refugees, or maybe he was just a racist. But the idea of empathy can also be politicized. Being with another as a visitor and never being at home, that idea really struck me because when you're visiting someone, you're always on your best manners. You're never quite comfortable. You're always looking around and using your best manners. So I really like that idea of instead of having an understanding, experiencing the understanding of empathy as being at home or being as a visitor. Oh, and I included the magic carpet from Aladdin, because I remember when I was young and I first saw that show, that culture was very foreign to me, and I thought, boy, I don't think I could ever feel at home with that, although the people who were there seemed very comfortable, and the singer even said, "I come from a faraway land. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home." So that's why I included that. Resource number 4. So I really enjoyed this one. It resonated deeply with me. The author said that gut feelings tell you right from wrong, and I've always preached this from kindergarten when I was a kindergarten teacher, because you don't always have these eloquent words to describe to kindergartners. So you say, how does your body feel? What is your tummy telling you when you lie? What is your tummy telling you when you do something that's not right and you know it's not right? Well, you feel kind of butterflies. You have a sick feeling. Your heart starts racing. So you rely on those physical feelings to take you through what's right and wrong. Now, in society, we follow moral norms, so sometimes people will use condemning emotions as a consequence for inappropriate social behavior. Sometimes they'll be praising emotions as encouragement for good social behavior. And then sometimes empathy will help your morality. So if you feel maybe someone might else be feeling like that, how would you want to treat them? I think we can override emotional judgments, so things that we're hit with that we don't really care for, by thinking through them. Resource number 5, to set your moral compass, means have your heart in the right place. Follow the golden rule, which incidentally is very similar to Buddha, and that's why I have a picture of him here. because the Buddha reached nirvana and he came back to the profane world to help others achieve nirvana, because he said his attainment of nirvana was insufficient unless everyone else attained it simultaneously. And that's kind of like the golden rule. Resource number 5 also mentioned loyalty and respect, being fair and being just, and kindness. I would have really liked to read more of that resource. I really liked those ideas for how to set your moral compass. Resource number 6. So we're talking about South Africa here, and how a lot of the people in South Africa are morally depraved. And so there's reasons for that. There's immigration issues on top of a new form of government in 1994 that bring up economic security and social inequalities. And so the author was really calling for a new moral compass instead of social rules. And there are difficulties, though, because those moral awareness and religious commitments, perceptions of others, they can really get in the way when you're dealing with others. So the first idea was to come up with a universal declaration without any religious or personal bias there, and that's really kind of a United Nations idea there. That's what they were going for. And then the second idea was admitting that religious beliefs are a very deep-seated understanding of morality, and that's across the board. So the social contract in South Africa could be based on either of those. Or the ultimate idea was to appeal to the innate understanding of right and wrong, which brings us back to some of the other slides of that gut feeling, that gut reaction of right and wrong. And then the author suggested that a new social contract could be created using the innate understanding of right and wrong. Resource number 7 considered religion, but ultimately pointed out that stars, political figures, and leaders, they operated outside and above the common rules of society, so that would be a complex thing to deal with based on what those very influential characters are doing. Resource number 8 was the same as resource number 2 in that they both said, draw a line in the sand or know what crosses the line. I really enjoyed that. So using the moral compass is engaging the mind to understand how your values might affect your decision. You analyze consequences and you analyze the actions. Resource 9. What is a moral compass? Nearly 80% of Americans, I included that quote because this author is a marriage and family therapist, and this quote just completely blew my mind. That's why I put the picture of the Scream by Munch. I think other people included the quote as well. I thought it was horrific. But this author said there were 5 reasons for having a moral compass, including identity, serving the greater good, self-confidence, role models, and how to have healthy relationships. So one of the important things of stumbling on this road of moral compass is when we make mistakes, they can also make us stronger. I appreciated that. And now to my compass, I start with Polaris, which is the North Star. And if you look at the top corner of the Big Dipper, a very easy identifiable star in the sky, if you look for the second star to the right and straight on till morning, you will find the North Star. And that is called Polaris. The North Star is my moral compass, and for me, that starts with God. And the other stars helping me guide my way through this moral compass are knowing the difference between right and wrong, paying attention to my body, my gut feeling, the golden rule, like the Buddha, and not just selfishly thinking of myself and my own achievements, but going back to help other people be the best version of themselves. Honesty and transparency are guide marks for this moral compass, respecting others, and fairness. My references are included here, and my addendum. I won't read all these to you, but I will sum up. The correlation is modeling integrity and using digital citizenship. The relevancy includes understanding that core tenets of ethical behavior, they're agreed upon, and that is across cultures and religions. The personal reflection is that I'm now going to have a slide in a presentation when I introduce myself to my future staff. My ethical awareness and the moral compass that I have will be so that they feel confident in my understanding of this important practice. I have one last quote. Some of you may be Jordan Peterson fans out there. So, know that if you orient yourself ethically in the most fundamental sense, then in some sense, you have the force of God on your side, and then maybe you can prevail despite the difficulty. Thank you for listening.